Hey guys, hope you're well. My name is Rob. Welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. Now, if you would like to become a member of the channel, you now can. There's a join button just below the video. It's $4.99 a month to become a member of this channel, to support myself and the content that I do. The season is coming to an end soon for both Super League and the NRL, but there will be England v Samoa test match content coming soon, as well as the Pacific Championships as well. So if you'd like to support me and the channel, you can do by joining the membership. So if you do, thanks very much. Let's crack on with the video. Starting with 12th place and still in 12th, I have Hull FC. I want to try and find positives in everything. We already know how bad it is for them. So let me just try and give you a bit of BS and make this positive, okay? What I reckon they're trying to do is, because they're signing so many, experienced players for next year, I reckon they're trying to make this season so bad that if they do manage to finish like 8th or 9th next season, it's like a grand final win. Like, compared to what they've got now, if they can win 5 games, that's a grand final victory. So, next year might be the year Hull FC win the grand final all the way in 9th place. So, does that count? Does that make any Hull fans feel better about it? I don't know. Hull FC still in 12th. Moving on to 11th place and still in 11th, I've got the London Broncos. Of course, we know it's been a very tough season for them, but I'm still very proud of what they've been able to achieve over the last couple of weeks, the way that they've put not just some wins on the board, but good points and put some teams under pressure. They've really taken the fight to a lot of teams, and that's mainly through their attack. As much as, I'm very proud of what they've done, they're still way off the mark, and I think we've seen a few individuals really shine in this team and start to flourish towards this back end of the season, and they're the kinds of players that won't be there for next year, and they'll move on to Super League teams that are in the competition next season. But I think overall, there's still a good handful of players that are about championship quality, maybe haven't taken the big step that they need. Obviously, there hasn't been as much investment in the team as there could have been if they were going to be fighting to stay up anyway, but I think they should be extremely proud of what they've been able to do, especially over the last few weeks and months. But yeah, still well off the mark. London Broncos in 11th. Moving on to 10th and still in 10th place, I've got the Huddersfield Giants. There was a chance that I could have moved them up as they won this week and Castleford lost, so I could have swapped them around. But I think given the opponents that they played against, Huddersfield playing a team at the bottom and Castleford playing a team that's well up in the table at the moment and in the power rankings, it just felt like I couldn't really make that change given the results. I think it's still on a knife edge at the moment and they could change next week very, very easily. I think once we get to the final round, I'll kind of know where they sit, who's above who. But yeah, Huddersfield, it's a bit dull on both sides of the ball, unfortunately. They're just playing for pride at this point, and even then, I'm still not sure what they can produce and what they can offer in attack or in defence. They've still got great individual players that can, bring up some good moments, but as a team, they're still really not offering anything. Moving on to 9th place, and still in 9th, I've got the Castleford Tigers. As I said, they could have easily moved down, given that they lost, Huddersfield won, but as I said, again, it's on a knife edge. I think with Castleford, they're just at a point now where they'll put up a few points, like they'll maybe have some good periods in a game, but they won't be able to sustain it. They won't be able to put a full game together, which is their issue right now. There's some good sparks in attack, some good resilient moments here and there in defence, but yeah, they'll put a few points on the scoreboard, but never really looking like properly challenging any of the somewhat decent teams now. They should be fine against teams below them for the most part, but yeah, this team right now has just kind of fallen off. I think ever since their playoff chances disappeared, they did as a team as well. They just lost a lot of energy, and yeah, they just look like a team that's without energy at the moment. But Castleford Tigers still in 9th. Moving on to 8th place and still in 8th, I've got the Catalans Dragons. I almost feel like moving them down more, but I just can't because the teams below them aren't worse than Catalans, but based on expectations, it feels like they should be lower. I cannot see Catalans making the playoffs anymore. I just cannot see it. And even if they did, I don't think they could even challenge whoever they get in the first round. But this team is just incapable of putting a full 80 minutes together of significant quality. In attack, it's the same with Castleford, to be honest. Like, in attack, they can throw some moments together. In defence, they can have some moments, but putting a full 80 minutes together is just virtually impossible for this team. So, I don't know. I don't see them making the playoffs. I think there's the potential of an upset this week against London. Even with Tompkins coming back, it hasn't changed anything based on expectations of this team. I said months ago, I'm waiting for them to flip a switch and something will happen with this team, but it just hasn't. I don't know why. I don't know if something's going on. I doubt it, but yeah, maybe it's just one of those down years. Everyone has them at some point. But yeah, Catalans are they're just weird at the minute. So they're still in 8th. Moving on to 7th place and moving down 1, I've got St Helens. Now, the only thing I can say that's even slightly positive is I couldn't tell you how good or bad their attack was because they didn't even have the ball long enough to judge it. They just dropped the ball again and again and again and again. Defensively, I suppose not too bad. To only concede 16 points is not too bad at all. It's, pretty solid. But yeah, they were just well off against Warrington. Didn't feel like they showed up at all. Yes, they are still without some key players, but even some of the regulars, they're not offering anything. They're not creating a spark. They're not showing leadership. There's not there isn't a single carry through the middle that I could look at and think, oh yes, that sets the tone for Saints now. Or a big hit from them. It's like, okay, defensively we're rock solid now. Or a line break from a second rower or a centre, or even one of the halves, where it's like, okay, well, they've spotted a weakness in Warrington's defence. It was completely boring. The whole performance from them was just without any excitement, any quality. It was just so dull from them. And I even said in my post-match reaction video on TikTok, I'm not scared of them anymore. And I don't think teams are now either. Like, used to be, even when seasons when we were better than Saints, and when we were regularly pushing for League Leader Shields and Challenge Cup finals, all that, and even Grand Finals, I'd worry about Saints because you could be up by 14 points with 10 minutes to go and they'll still pull something out the backside. People aren't afraid of them anymore. Saints fans just feel just so low on this team right now, and they just don't give me any fear at this point, which is so weird after all the trauma they've caused me since being a Wire fan, since my existence. But yeah, it's not a good time for Saints right now. When they've got the full cast back, we'll see what they could do if they could make it to playoffs. But yeah, St Helens down 1 in 7th. Moving on to 6th place and moving up 1, I've got the Leeds Rhinos. Now, of course, this comes off the back of the poor Saints performance, an incredible performance from them, especially attacking-wise, and of course defensively, only conceding 6 points towards the back end of the game, but scoring so many points against Hull FC. Now, a lot of people will say the classic, it's only, insert name here, it's only Hull FC. So, but then you've got to ask the question, well, why didn't Warrington do it to them every time? Why didn't Wigan do that to them every time? Same with Hull KR, Saints, Catalans. Why didn't every other team do that to them every single time they played them? Well, it takes a special performance to actually do that. So that's why you've got to give credit to Leeds. There was a sin bin in there, but that would have had zero effect. It's not like they ran away with the game at that point. They were already in firm control of the game, so the sin bin doesn't even matter. They'll take a lot of pride in that performance. A lot of confidence defensively, and especially taking that confidence into such a strong game against Wigan next week. That's going to be huge for them. And the fact that they've already had one against Wigan is, adds a question mark to that game. But yeah, Leeds, that's a big win that they need. Salford, they had a big win against Huddersfield a few weeks ago. Their fans really needed that to give them a bit of a boost going into playoffs and this back end of the season. Leeds, they really needed that. Not just a slight win, they needed a huge win, and that's what they got. And Leeds should be very proud of that performance. So they're up 1 in 6th. Moving on to 5th place, and still in 5th, I've got the Salford Red Devils. They're fine. They're nothing too special. Of course, they had a great result against Huddersfield a few weeks ago, but for the most part, generally speaking, they're fine. You won't typically get anything truly special in attack, truly special in defence. It kind of feels like they're sort of going through the motions and they're just about good enough compared to most teams that they'll come away with a win. They'll have a good kicking game. They can spread the ball nicely. They can open up teams. they can beat the teams that you'd expect them to beat, but there needs to be a big step up from them coming into playoffs. Of course, they had that against Huddersfield, as I said, but it needs to be a little bit more. It feels like they're just going through the motions and that they're kind of there. They're in a good spot, but they don't feel like a team to fear. They're just kind of there. So I think if they can find a spark from somewhere, whether it's another big result like they had against Huddersfield, great on the attacking side in the next couple of weeks, or spectacular on the defensive side in the next couple of weeks, they need something. They need to give teams a reason to fear them. Unless they're just trying to be sneaky and not give anything away. I highly doubt it. I think that's just what they are. But yeah, Salford Red Devils still in 5th. Moving on to 4th place and still in 4th, I've got the Warrington Wolves. I think their performance against Saints, it was fine. It wasn't like completely clean, but it was fine. There was no real problems in there. I think some decent carries, good intent with the ball. Defensively, obviously, very solid. Weren't easy to open up at all. I think some individuals, George Williams had a couple good runs. I think the organisation from Drinkwater was clear. The kicking game from Drinkwater and Williams was awful. Like, it just was terrible. But great moments with the ball from them, the organisation from Drinkwater, runs from Williams, and even some moments from Kai Taylor-Ray opening up that Saints defence. A few little misconnections and mishaps with Williams didn't help in some moments, but Ashton was fantastic. Thulis was reliable as ever. And Kai Taylor-Ray was also reliable as well as a fullback. And yeah, the forwards, they got through a lot of work. And again, we changed as a team through the middle when Danny Walker came on. Like, we can have this argument whether he should come on when the defence is tired. Fine. But if we start the game too slow and then we're on the back foot, there's only so much he can do. I think he needs to start, but that's me. But yeah, Warrington, they look fine. Nothing to complain about. Good defensively, fine in attack. And I think still need, just to add any more fear to Hull KR and Wigan, they still need a big result. So the next two opponents aren't exactly to be feared in Huddersfield and London, but if they can put up some major results, it'll at least spark a little bit of fear from potentially Wigan and Hull KR fans. So Warrington still in 4th. Moving on to 3rd place and still in 3rd, I've got the Leigh Leopards. No real complaints from me at the minute. No complaints at all. They're just really comfortable at the minute. The only result over the last couple of weeks that you could really question in terms of performance was Warrington. I mean, you would have thought that based on the fact that they were a man up for so long, they could have been a bit more comfortable in that game, but it's against a strong team like Warrington, who's actually dealt with a lot of sin bins and red cards this season, so they're used to that at this point. But Leigh are beating teams that you'd expect them to beat, and they're doing it in such a good fashion as well. Like, defensively, they're strong. They are allowing points, as does everyone, but it's very limited. And the scoring points is not astronomical, but it's solid numbers. It's real solid numbers to where they're not really being touched by anybody. So beating the teams that you need to beat is a perfect foundation to start from, and it's just finding that switch to just be a little bit better than Warrington regularly, and then matching Wigan and Hull KR. So that's the next step for Leigh, is can they take an even bigger push and in the final 2 games that they've got show a different class, a different level to them. Because they look great right now. But I think most of us right now, we're just not convinced that they're at the top yet. Even though they're getting the results, we're just not quite convinced yet. They can get to it, but we need to see it. So Leigh still in 3rd. Moving on to 2nd place and moving down 1, I've got Hull Kingston Rovers. Now let me just start by saying I am just giving the benefit of the doubt to Wigan as they got the win. I understand there were different circumstances in there, like the 2 sin bins. I'm not completely oblivious to that. So I am giving them the benefit of the doubt, and this does feel a little bit harsh moving them down, moving Hull KR down, but we've still got 2 weeks to go, and I'm sure by the end of the regular season, I'll kind of know who should be above who. So don't worry too much right now. It's just giving them the benefit of the doubt. Hull KR are still a great team, still moving the ball around really, really well. Defensively very solid. The only complaints I've got from their performance against Wigan is I think they allowed too many metres when they attacked the edges. So when the ball got to Wardle or to Nsemba on the left-hand side, or it got to Farrell and Kieran on the right-hand side, they allowed just too many meters. Sometimes they were caught out on the wings, jamming in a bit too early. The ball was able to get to Marshall and Miskey for even more meters. So that's my only issue, is that they were opened up a little too much on the edges in the middle of the park, not even on the try line. It was in the middle of the park, allowing those easy meters. And the only other complaint is they probably didn't deal with the sin bins very well. They've not had to deal with too many scenarios this season where they've been down to 12 men, I don't think. So I think just the way that they managed the game probably wasn't as good as some other teams, and that's it really. They're my only complaints. Just a few too many meters on the edges and didn't deal with the sin bins well enough. And that's it. So again, benefit of the doubt, but Hull KR still a great team, down 1 in second. Finally, in first place and moving up 1, I've got the Wigan Warriors. Again, as I said in the Hull KR section, the way they attacked the edges was great. Nsemba's carries were brilliant. Over on that left-hand side, they were fantastic. So Nsemba linking up with Harry Smith, with Wardle getting those meters, and Marshall finding space as well. The left side looked great. The right side looked pretty good too as well. So the left side looks really good for Wigan. And through the middle, oh my God, Patrick Mago is ridiculous. He is ridiculous. How does he do it? I know he's absolutely massive, but come on. He's an absolute beast. He was on for what, maybe 15 minutes in the whole game, from what I remember, and was the best prop on the field. He was just a huge difference maker. In a moment where the game was kind of in the balance, he was the difference maker. I know Bevan French had his moment, but for me, Mago set a tone, and Hull KR just couldn't really... I don't think they could really match from there. It was all him for me. It was all him. And of course, Bevan French with his individual try, that was quality. That's why I say he's the best player in Super League. Jay Field was a handful on both sides of the ball. I think it was just pretty clean. The sin bins helped, but it was pretty clean overall from Wigan. And a good test for them. I think they still need to take a bit of a step up to create that gap to Hull KR and Warrington and Leigh going into playoffs. But yeah, what a game. But giving them the benefit of the doubt, Wigan Warriors up 1 in first. So that's going to be it for this video. Again, if you would like to support me and the work that I do for this channel and the TikTok page as well, feel free to become a Kinetic Rugby League member today. It really does help me out and show that you greatly appreciate the work that's being done throughout the season and even the off-season as well when we get to the England v Samoa series and the Pacific Championships as well. But that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.